aliens disclosure. UFO 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 aliens disclosure. Let's go.
Okay, so get this. You sent in some fascinating stuff this week, articles, links, all that. It's about John Titor,
Right.
that supposed time traveler from 2036. But also, you sent over some serious deep dives into the physics of wormholes. So we're talking bending time, visiting other eras. I mean, this is the stuff of science fiction, right?
Yeah.
But what if it's not? What if there's more to it?
Right.
So that's what we're going to do in this deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to kind of sift through all these sources that you sent and try to figure out what's really possible. What's likely just a really good story.
Sure.
And then what are the implications if any of this is actually true?
Right.
So get ready for some mind-bending stories
I'm ready.
and maybe even more mind-bending science.
It's always fascinating to see how, these personal accounts of time travel kind of intersect with our, with what we understand scientifically about the universe.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think those stories, they can be more revealing about our hopes and fears as humans
Oh, totally.
than about the actual nature of time.
Yeah, what we want to believe, what
Yeah.
we're afraid of.
Exactly.
It all gets kind of mixed up in there.
Yeah.
So let's actually start with those personal accounts, right?
Okay.
John Titor's story. This is a classic. He just kind of popped up online on these online forums back in the early 2000s. So this is way before social media as we know it today.
Right. Right.
But he's claiming to be this soldier from the year 2036,
Wow.
and people just ate it up. What's really wild to me is the level of detail he goes into.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he describes his time machine, talks about these future events. He even posts these pictures that supposedly show his device. One of the predictions that really caught my eye, he claimed that a civil war would break out in the U.S. in 2008.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, that didn't happen.
Right.
But it makes you think, right?
Yeah.
What anxieties were kind of feeding into his story at the time?
Yeah.
You
Yeah, it's interesting how these narratives, they often reflect kind of the concerns the era in which they kind of emerge,
Yeah,
The early 2000s, that was a time of, a lot of political division,
for sure.
global uncertainty, which might explain why that idea of a civil war, I don't know, maybe it resonated with some people, you know?
Yeah.
And plus the internet was still relatively new then, so there was this kind of sense of anonymity and mystery
Oh, yeah.
that made it easier for these stories to kind of spread.
Yeah, there wasn't the same level of fact-checking and stuff.
Right, exactly.
And spread it did.
Yeah.
Titor gained a huge following. I mean, some people, they believed him wholeheartedly. Others were more skeptical, but they were still entertained by it.
Right.
I think it speaks to that part of us that, kind of wants to believe the impossible.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have stories that are maybe a little less believable,
Sure.
shall we say?
Yeah.
Like Andrew Carlson. This is the guy who supposedly made millions on the stock market
Oh, wow.
by using knowledge from the future. He claimed to be from the year 2256
Wow.
and even offered to reveal the location of Osama bin Laden in exchange for, leniency. I mean, wouldn't we all do that if we had a time machine?
It's a tempting thought, isn't it, to kind of go back and use that knowledge. But Carlson's story, it quickly fell apart, under any kind of scrutiny.
Right.
There's really no credible evidence to support his claims of time travel.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think it was just an elaborate hoax, to kind of exploit the public's fascination with time travel. And of course, the stock market.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know the future of the stock market.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got one story that taps into, societal fears. Another that seems like a straight-up con. But then there are these accounts that are, I don't know, they're harder to dismiss. Even if they weren't intended as, time travel stories,
Right.
Sir Victor Goddard's experience back in 1935.
Okay.
He was flying over this abandoned airfield in Scotland when, all of a sudden he sees it in full operation.
What?
Yeah, there were, mechanics in blue overalls working on these yellow planes. It was very vivid.
Wow.
And years later, the airfield was renovated, and guess what?
What?
They had blue overalls and yellow planes.
Oh, wow. That's creepy.
Yeah. Goddard himself never claimed to be a time traveler,
Yeah.
but he could never really explain what he saw.
What makes Goddard's account so intriguing is that, he wasn't like intentionally trying to, be this time traveler from the future or anything like that. It was just this strange experience that he had that defied explanation, and the fact that, the details that he saw later matched the airfield's, future state.
Yeah.
Just adds to the mystery, It makes you think about, the nature of perception, memory.
Yeah, totally.
Even the possibility of, glimpses into other temporal dimensions or something.
Okay, so we've had our fill of these personal accounts, right?
Yeah.
Some outlandish, some really thought-provoking.
Right.
But what about the real science? This is where I get excited.
Okay.
Even though I'm Einstein, I'll admit that.
Sure.
Is time travel actually possible according to physics? I mean, is there anything to back this up?
Well, you don't have to be Einstein to kind of grasp the basics, Let's start with his theory of relativity,
Okay.
which is this is actual science, not just science fiction.
Okay.
What it tells us is that time isn't absolute, but it's relative to speed and gravity. So imagine you're one of two twins.
Okay.
You hop in a spaceship, you travel at near the speed of light for a few years,
Okay.
while your twin stays on Earth. When you come back, you're going to be younger than your Earthbound twin.
Because time will have passed differently for both of you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Wait, so you're saying time travel to the future is theoretically possible, according to Einstein?
Based on our current understanding of physics, yes.
Wow, that's incredible. But what about traveling to the past?
Right.
That's what really captures our imaginations.
That's where things get even more complicated.
Okay.
And we have to delve into the realm of wormholes.
Wormholes, okay.
So imagine wormholes like these tunnels, through space-time, these shortcuts.
Okay.
That could connect different points in time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wormholes are still highly theoretical,
Okay.
but the math of Einstein's theory doesn't actually rule them out.
Okay, so wormholes are like these theoretical tunnels through time.
Right.
But are we even close to being able to create or travel through them? I mean, is this something that's even remotely possible with our current technology?
Not even close.
I mean, the energy that would be required to create a wormhole or even to stabilize one would be astronomical. I mean, far beyond anything we can even imagine right now.
Right.
And then there's also this whole issue of paradoxes.
Paradoxes, okay.
Like, what if you went back in time and, accidentally prevented your own birth?
Right.
This is the classic grandfather paradox.
Yeah.
And it creates all sorts of, logical headaches.
So time travel is turning out to be a lot more complicated than just, hopping in a DeLorean
Yeah.
and punching in a date.
Unfortunately, it's not that simple.
It's mind-boggling, but honestly, I'm already hooked. Like, where do we go from here?
Well, we've explored these personal accounts. We've dipped our toes into this mind-bending science.
Right.
But what about the ethics of time travel? I mean, this is a big one.
Yeah.
If we ever did figure out how to do it, wouldn't that open up a whole Pandora's box of, dilemmas?
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to have to dive into that in our next segment.
Okay.
Get ready to tackle some serious what-if scenarios,
Sounds good.
because we're just getting started.
Ever wondered about the mysteries of the universe? From UFO sightings to ancient aliens, UFO Deep Dive explores it all. Join us each week as we dive into the strange, unexplained, and beyond. Find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Your curiosity deserves answers.
If you're fascinated by what lies beyond our world, UFO Deep Dive is for you. Each episode uncovers new layers of alien encounters, government secrets, and mind-bending theories. Tune in on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. This journey is one you won't forget.
Tired of the ordinary? Step into the extraordinary with UFO Deep Dive. From alien encounters to hidden histories, we take you beyond the surface. Available now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Join us and explore the unknown.
Okay, so we've kind of established that time travel, it's theoretically possible, at least, to the future.
Right.
And we touched on those, paradoxes it could create.
Yeah, those are tricky.
But let's say, for the sake of argument, that we somehow overcome all those hurdles. We build our time machine. We figure out how to, like, not accidentally erase ourselves from existence.
Right.
What then? Like, what are the ethical implications of, actually messing with time?
Oh, that's where things get really interesting and potentially, pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Imagine the power that someone would have if they could, like, actually change the past or influence the future. I mean, it's a responsibility that could so easily be abused.
It's like part of me is thinking, heck yeah, I'd go back and win the lottery. But then you start thinking about the bigger picture,
Yeah.
Like, what if by changing the past, even in some small way, you create like a ripple effect that leads to all these unintended consequences?
Exactly, like the butterfly effect in action. One tiny change can just like cascade through time and completely alter the course of events in ways that we can't even imagine.
Yeah.
It's a classic theme in science fiction too,
Oh, totally.
Like in Back to the Future, remember when Marty McFly almost prevents his parents from meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if someone with, less noble intentions had that kind of power.
Whoa, yeah. Someone could, like, go back and assassinate a world leader or something.
Right.
Thinking they're doing the right thing, but they end up, like, creating this dystopian future instead.
That's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah. Or what if someone, like, travels to the future, sees some disaster coming, and tries to prevent it? Could they actually make things worse?
Those are exactly the kind of dilemmas that, we'd have to really grapple with.
Yeah.
Who gets to decide what's worth changing,
Right.
and what are the criteria for making those decisions? It's just a massive ethical minefield.
And it's not just about the big, dramatic stuff either.
Right.
Even something as, like, seemingly simple as going back and, giving yourself some winning lottery numbers. That could have unforeseen consequences.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe that money ends up funding something terrible, or you become, like, so rich and powerful that you make bad choices that impact, like, countless lives.
It's like that old saying, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what about, like, the potential for exploitation?
Oh, right.
Like, if this time travel technology were to actually exist, who would control it? Governments, corporations, individuals?
Right. It's a big question.
Imagine the potential for, like, abuse.
Yeah.
For manipulating events for personal gain or political power. It's kind of terrifying, honestly.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if some things are just better left unknown.
That's a valid point, for sure.
Like, maybe time, with all its mysteries and imperfections, is best just left to run its course.
That's one way to look at it, but, human curiosity, it's a pretty powerful force.
Oh, yeah?
And if there's even a remote possibility of, cracking this code of time travel, I kind of doubt we'll be able to resist the temptation to, explore it.
I get that it's like that allure of the unknown, that what if,
Yeah.
that drives so much of, human exploration and discovery. But if we're going to open that door,
Yeah.
we need to do it with, like, extreme caution.
Right.
And a clear understanding of, like, the potential consequences, both good and bad.
Absolutely. It wouldn't just be about, scientific breakthroughs. It would require a complete, like, rethinking of our ethical frameworks, our understanding of our place in the grand scheme of time.
Okay, so we've gone from the, like, thrills of those time travel stories to the mind-bending science.
Yeah.
And now, like, these sobering ethical considerations. But there's one more layer to all of this that I find really fascinating. We've been talking about time, as if it's this, like, linear, objective thing.
Right.
But isn't time also a matter of, like, perception?
Oh, absolutely.
Different cultures, they have different ways of, understanding and experiencing time.
You're right, yeah. Our Western culture tends to view time as this, like, straight line, right?
Yeah.
Past, present,
Yeah,
future.
present, future, yeah.
But a lot of indigenous cultures see time as more cyclical, where the past, present, and future, they're all kind of intertwined
Yeah.
and constantly influencing each other.
Wow.
So the past isn't gone, it's always present in a way, informing the present and kind of shaping the future.
That's such a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if our, like, very linear understanding of time is actually, like, limiting our understanding of what time travel could even be.
Oh, that's interesting.
What if, like, instead of physically traveling through, a timeline, we could tap into these other dimensions of time, accessing like memories, insights, or even alternate realities.
That's a fascinating thought. Perhaps our current scientific models, they're only scratching the surface of what's truly possible.
Right.
Maybe we need to expand our understanding of time itself before we can really grasp the potential of time travel.
It's like we're trying to fit this vast, multidimensional concept into this neat little box. When it might be more like, I don't know, an endless ocean.
Right.
With currents and depths we haven't even begun to explore.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And who knows what wonders might lie beneath the surface, just waiting to be discovered.
Right.
Perhaps time travel, as we currently imagine it, is only one tiny aspect of a much larger and more complex reality.
Okay, my head is officially spinning. We've gone from, time-traveling soldiers and stock market shenanigans, Einstein's theories, ethical dilemmas, and now different cultural perspectives on time itself.
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to process. But I feel like we're just getting started. Where do we go from here?
Well, we've explored, the possibilities, the challenges, the ethical implications, and all that.
Right.
Now it's time to bring it all back to you, the listener.
Yes. We've thrown a lot of information your way.
We have.
But what does it all mean? What resonates with you the most?
At UFO Deep Dive, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep. Each episode brings you closer to the truth about aliens, conspiracies, and cosmic mysteries. Listen now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Secrets. We all want to know them. On UFO Deep Dive, we expose the hidden stories of UFOs, alien races, and undisclosed government projects. Tune in for an exclusive look at the mysteries others won't talk about. Available now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
So welcome back to the show. We're wrapping up our deep dive into time travel here.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Exploring those captivating personal accounts, delving into that mind-bending world of theoretical physics.
Yeah.
And even, touching upon the cultural and historical fascination with transcending time.
And through it all, we've kept coming back to you, the listener. What's resonating? What questions are you wrestling with?
Right, because after all this exploration, one thing's clear to me, at least: time travel. If it's even possible, it raises more questions than it answers.
Yeah, it's like we've opened this door to a whole universe of possibilities, but behind that door, it's like a maze with endless twists and turns.
A maze, yeah, that's a good way to put it. We've got, stories that tap into our deepest desires and anxieties.
Right.
Scientific theories that really challenge, our understanding of reality itself. And those ethical dilemmas, they can really make your head spin.
Remember John Titor, claiming to be from this future, ravaged by civil war.
Oh, yeah.
It really made me think about how our present fears, they shape our vision of what might come.
Right. We project our worries onto the future.
Yeah, exactly. And then, there's that mind-boggling physics of Einstein's relativity.
Yeah.
We learned that time, it isn't this fixed, universal constant, but something that could be warped by speed and gravity.
Warped, yeah.
Which means time travel to the future. I mean, at best, theoretically possible.
According to our current understanding, yeah.
But then we run into, wormholes. Those hypothetical shortcuts, right? Through space-time.
Right.
Are they real? Could we ever harness them? And what about those pesky paradoxes?
Yeah.
The ones that really make you question, the very fabric of cause and effect.
Yeah, those are tough ones. I mean, it's enough to make you wonder if our brains are even equipped to handle the concept of time travel,
But even if we never build a working time machine, this deep dive, it's been an incredible journey.
Oh, for sure.
It's reminded us that the universe, it's just full of mysteries.
Yeah.
And that the pursuit of knowledge, it's an adventure in itself.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what keeps us going, right?
So as we wrap up here, we want to leave you with something to ponder. If you could travel through time, where would you go? What would you do? Would you visit the past, witness historical events firsthand? Maybe even try to right a wrong or something?
Right.
Or would you venture into the future, catch a glimpse of what's in store for humanity?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Would you use your knowledge to make a difference, or just try to like avoid any personal disasters? You know, I mean, the possibilities are endless, but the choices
Yeah.
you face, I mean, they would be incredibly complex.
And that's kind of the beauty of it, isn't it? Time travel, even as just a thought experiment,
Right.
it forces us to confront these big questions, to grapple with, like, you know, the nature of reality, and to really consider the consequences of our actions.
It's a reminder that the past, present, and future, they're all like intricately connected.
Yeah.
And that even if we can't like physically travel through time, our thoughts, our choices, our actions, they're constantly shaping the future.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that sense of wonder alive.
Because who knows, maybe someday that line between science fiction and reality,
Yeah.
it'll blur,
It might.
and the mysteries of time travel will be revealed.
I hope so.
Until then, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.
UFO alien disclosure. UFO alien disclosure. UFO alien disclosure. UFO alien disclosure. Let's go.